I suppose like either way, that's sort of how it works. I can try to diagram this out a bit.
Yes. I'm gonna take screenshots.
Okay. So
Yes.
so this is our user. I always use this guy for my user. So
Is that
you know,
Bob?
this is Bob, sure. So they go to the DApp, right? They do something on the website, and then the website will submit a transaction sort of on the user's behalf, right? They want to submit a transaction for the user. So what happens here is like the user will have some sort of wallet. This could be like Petra, it could be Aptos Connect, whatever, right? So user will click on button on the app, e.g. transfer, I don't know, like swap USDC for APT or something, right? And like maybe this is Panora, and Panora wants to sponsor gas for this. So the DApp will then say like, hey, to the wallet, I want the user to like sign this transaction, right? They go to the wallet then goes back to the user and says, hey, the DApp is like has proposed this transaction. Here are the details. Like it's calling this function. It's going to change these things, and it'll like do a simulation for that. Are you happy to approve that? The user says, yes, I'm super happy to approve that. I can add some lines here as well. So,
and so this is like when I'm using gas station and it's working, it says transaction cost 000, zero APT. But sometimes it says 0.00043, and then you're like, wait a second, it's not gas stationing. So that's happening.
So what we're talking about here is, I guess, like first I'm just talking about like the normal flow, no gas station, right?
Yes.
So in this universe, when the wallet asks if the user wants to approve this, it will say like, hey, this is going to cost some gas, right? If the user says yes, then the wallet will submit that transaction to the blockchain. Blockchain full node. I won't get into like what happens after this. It's like, propagated to the validators, blah, blah, blah. But let's not worry about that for now. So the way this can work with a gas station is when, like, let's say the DApp wants to use a gas station, it will propose a transaction, but with the fee payer will be true, right? In this case, they're saying like, hey, we're going to submit that transaction to a fee payer, and they're going to be the one paying for the gas. At this time, though, we don't actually need to know who the fee payer is going to be. It's just sort of the user saying like, yeah, I'm only willing to like approve this transaction if I'm not paying any gas, right? So the wallet will propose this to the user. The user will see like the same simulation, but no gas fee. So assuming then that the DApp or the wallet have been configured with the gas station plugins that I was just talking about, what will happen instead is we'll go to the gas station. And then the gas station will send it to the full node. So the gas station, when it receives the transaction, it will do a variety of other checks, right? So it's sort of got its own database, its own Redis cache for checking things like, is this function approved? Approved function, question mark? Or, rate limit, okay. And then other things, like it could talk to Google and say, is this reCAPTCHA good, whatever. Do all of these checks. And then if everything's happy, then we submit it to the blockchain. We sign it and then submit it to the blockchain, and it'll pay for gas. That thing I was talking about with the prologue, essentially, I don't know that much about it either, but the way transactions work is there's a prologue where we do like a variety of checks before we run the transactions entry function. Like, do you have enough gas and stuff like that? Are the signers legit, whatever. Then we run the core function, and then there's an epilogue that does some other cleanup, but I don't really know about it. There's some docs that I can link that will explain that better.
It's very poetic, though.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah. Yeah, that's like a TLDR of how the gas station works.
Love it. Yeah, that more or less aligned with what I was imagining when you were running it through before, but this is a great screenshot for the docs. Just put it right in there. Yeah, I think so. Like to do this, you guys, like in a nutshell, if I wanted like the super short TLDR on the Learn site or something like that, I could show them with fee payer :true really big and be like, that's like, this is the key for gas station, and just go to build, set it up, or look at this screenshot. Do you want to build all this?
Well, exactly. And like, I guess like another nice thing to call out is that if you're using this like gas station plugin system, you also don't even need to think about with fee payer is true. Like the SDK will handle setting that on your behalf. So like literally all you should need to do is just like set up that gas station client and then provide it to the Aptos client, and then everything will work out of the box.
Do you have any good example code with a plugin written that you could just walk us through really quickly? Is that allowed?
Actually, I do actually, because I recorded, I don't know if you saw my like gas stations in 92 seconds video or whatever it was.
I did. That was you.
That was me. That was me.
Nice.
Yeah, I didn't put myself in the video for that one. Yeah, I can show you some code real quick. I'll just show you the code I use for that. I've been gradually expanding my my chess example.
Yeah, if you could take slightly longer than 92 seconds on it, that would be also great.
Yeah.
Because yeah, there's something really important about speed and just being as quick as possible. And then I found that some people like a deep dive, and that it helps, going slower helps them form a more cohesive understanding of a thing. Yeah, let's queue up questions. Agreed.
Okay, so where are we? So it's really pretty straightforward. So, you know, your mileage will vary here on how useful this is, depending on how your like front end is set up. But essentially, like in this DApp, we have this global state that has things that we use everywhere, like an Aptos client, for example. I can zoom in even more. There we go. So it looks pretty much exactly like how it looks in the docs. So we create this gas station client, right? And all you need to really provide it is what network you're working with and the API key that you get from the Aptos build web UI, right? And we use this API key to sort of figure out like, who are you when you're making these requests, and route it to the appropriate like gas station. Then to indicate that you want to use this gas station, you have these plugin settings. And one of these plugins is a transaction submitter. So you say, I want to use this gas station as my transaction submitter instead of the default transaction submitter where it goes straight to the node. And then I build my client, right? And then from that point on, every time I submit a transaction using this Aptos client, it will go via the gas station. Now, in the example where like there's a wallet involved, there's also another step you need to do here is like you need to use this wallet adapter thing. And it works pretty much the same way. Like there's a transaction submitter that you can provide. And this function is, it's essentially just getting the transaction submitter that we created here. So it's the same vibe. It's saying like, if I want to like ask a user to sign a transaction and then submit it, let's not submit it to the node. We'll submit it to the gas station instead. And the wallet adapter handles all of that. And that's sort of literally it. Like there's nothing else.
Wait, where is it? No. So first of all, this is how we should going forward be coding it, right? Because like the AI keeps on wanting to make it not like that. And yeah, zooming in on trying to find out where and why it works the other way.
Yeah, so like the old school way of doing this was like the old school way of doing it was like you would build your payload, and like with this client you can do things like gas station client dot like sign and submit transaction, right? Where you are sort of responsible for submitting it via the gas station. But like, I think this plugin system's way easier because you just got to like provide the plugin in a few spots, and then like the SDK and the wallet adapter will use the gas station on your behalf. The gas station client, I mean. But yeah, potentially the AI doesn't really know about this. This is like fairly new.
Are we allowed to talk about the MCP that we're working on?
Thing.
Is it a secret? I mean, let's just say there's projects where we're
We can talk about it.
yeah. I mean, it's something where like is there any like when we go forward and have that I'm basically noticing we have to remove any other way of we like have to sort of have an opinion in the MCP and maybe also be providing like I don't understand why. So why would anybody else want? In what case is it better to do it the other way, where you're like defining the whole? Like maybe in some of these specific unique use cases where like some transactions are sponsored and some are not, or is that all taken care of if you're doing it correctly with plugin, or like for some, you know, I don't know.
I think so for starters, there's sort of no reason why you would do it another way. Like if for some reason you're not using the SDK, then yeah, you'll have to like sort of roll it yourself. If you're, let's see, do I have a good example here? We also have support for like if you want to, you know, not use the fee payer for a particular transaction, you can also do that. So you could say like transaction submitter null, and this means like don't use the transaction submitter that was configured.
Got it.
And it's sort of described it. Like you can set the null to ignore any configured transaction submitter.
All right, so that's the unlock for like maybe a special use cases. If you're running front end logic or server logic to say, hey, if this user has completed this many quests in blobby bloop or holds this NFT, then let's give them sponsored transactions. But if not, they got to pay their own way. Dag nabbit. You could, that's how you would do it.
Yeah, this is how you would do it on the front end. You would also have to have like backend logic sort of handling this. Often like one good way to do that, since like you don't have your own backend, right? When you submit a transaction, the gas station will simulate that transaction first before submitting it. And by default, it will not submit the transaction if it would fail. Otherwise, like failed transactions still cost gas, but they don't do anything. So you generally don't want to do that. So, you know, if your function, like maybe your function can only be called by certain users or like when certain conditions are met, and it will fail other times. This is sort of a natural protection for that, right? So like you can encode some of your logic of how the gas station should work on chain as well. And like, you know, in the chess example, a really easy example is like, I only want to sponsor transactions for people when it's their turn to make a move, right? If it's not their turn, the move module is going to reject them, saying like, hey, it's not your turn, and the transaction will fail, and then therefore the simulation will fail, and therefore we won't sponsor it.
Perfect. That's a perfect example of like, as the business, I know for a fact that I don't want to be paying for other people's dumb choices in that situation, right? Like it's not your turn. Don't force the transaction through and cost me gas money.
Yeah, exactly.
Love it. I have not seen the chess example. So is this something that it's an existing finished thing? Where you don't have your API key hard coded in there and stuff?
No, it's fine. This has been live for years. I've just been gradually augmenting it with things like no code indexing and like gas station. But yeah, you could play a game of chess with someone right now if you wanted. Is
it safe to leave your Aptos build keys in your front end?
Yeah, this is something of an open question. Generally, yes. Like the point of why we have all of these protections in place for gas station is so you can put it in the front end. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a very useful tool, right? So like, you know, for example, my gas station here, I've configured it saying like, okay, only approve transactions for these chess functions, right? And my logic is such that, you know, like the transactions will fail if they're not valid anyway, right? If I was more paranoid, I could then put in more checks like, okay, only these people are allowed to play chess or whatever. You know, this is not like a golden example because I've only got this deployed on testnet right now, and testnet APT is, you know, free. So, but yeah, so like same thing with like regular API keys. Like we have some protections where you can say, okay, I'll only approve requests coming from these origins or this like Chrome extension. I'll only approve up to like this many compute units per IP address. Yeah, and we're thinking about some more stuff for that too.